Hey, Kathy, how are you? Sorry, I usually don't start the calls until 2 minutes before. I didn't realize you were waiting on me. I apologize.
No reason to apologize. I figured I would check in and so not a big
Okay.
deal.
All right. Oh, I see Ariane. I see Liz, Danielle, Rosa, Leora. Oh, Leora. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you guys for being here today. I appreciate it. It's my first time being on Career Builders. It's pretty cool to do a class in the evening, and I know it's important to have options at night, especially for dual career and folks that are busy during the day and can't really plug into all the great classes we have in the morning and afternoon. So I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Tonight's class is about the power of harnessing the power of scripts, and many of you guys I'm familiar with, so I know that you guys know how I work and what I talk about. But there are a couple people on here that I don't know. Rosa, and you don't have to turn your cameras on if you can't, but if you can turn your cameras on, I always love to see faces. But Rosa and Leora, how are you guys tonight? I don't know you, but thank you for being here. I just want to get a feel for the room so you guys can either speak up or put in the chat, but I want to know if you had to rate yourself on the scale of 0 to 10, 10 being a scripting expert, where would you rate yourself? And if you guys can just put it in the chat, everybody put it in the chat so I can actually take a look at that and know. I want to be able to read the room so I know what to actually talk about tonight. So 0 to 10, 10 being you're a scripting expert, how would you rate yourself on scripts? Let's see here. 6.5, 7 to 8. Okay. 5, Liz. Okay. Awesome. I respect that. Maria, thank you for joining. 5, 3, 5. Okay, great. Great. So I'll just start off saying a couple of things about scripts, and then I just want to get into doing some scripts. I have found that when you say the word scripts, people, there's sometimes a negative connotation around it. And so I've been working to change my vocabulary and say, this is a dialogue that we need to have with sellers and buyers versus scripting. However, it is what it is. And real estate is a highly scripted business. Almost everything we do is scripted. And so I don't think that we should feel a negative way about scripts. I think we need to understand that they're important because they direct us on how to do our job and the conversations that we need to have with our buyers and sellers. And the sooner that we can get over that negative connotation of scripts, the easier it is to embrace them and understand that it empowers us to go out there and actually get business, whether we're working with the buyer or working with the seller. It tells us the questions that we need to be asking. It shows us how to overcome the objections that we're getting from sellers. And more importantly, it gives us a lot of tools that we can use to actually close the deal. So to me, scripts are important. When I didn't use scripts, I didn't get business. When I was getting business and I got a little cocky and I moved away from using scripts, I noticed that my conversion rate started to go down. So I think it's a great thing to be able to be a scripted salesperson. If you look at any profession out there, people are highly scripted. And so what we're going to talk about tonight is the power of harnessing scripts and how we can use that to our advantage to actually get out there and convert more business. So before I get started talking, because sometimes I won't shut up, are there any questions about scripts that I can answer before we really get into it? And there are no silly questions here, especially if you're new and you just don't really understand it and know how to use them and understand why it's important to use them. There are no silly questions. So I just want you to feel comfortable raising your hand. This is definitely a safe space where we can talk it up and talk about scripts. So any questions for me before I actually get started? Leora, Rosa, I hope I'm not messing names up. I'm sorry if I am. But are there any questions for me? Ariane, go ahead.
I'm going to ask because maybe somebody might be afraid to ask, but how do you not make it sound either salesy or unnatural or that's not me or I wouldn't say that?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, first and foremost, Ariane, every script that I currently use when I'm on the phone and talking with you guys and teach and push, my first reaction was, that's not me. I'm not saying that. That sounds weird. So I think we all have that initial reaction to it. the way that you change that and the way that you harness the power of script. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I think the way that you go about doing that, Ariana, for everyone else is that you actually have to internalize the scripts. And so it's so important in the beginning to write the scripts out. It's so important to say them out loud several times a day. And we have learned that you don't just read the script. Hey, my name is David. You read it really fast. You go through it very quickly and you say it 5 to 10 times a day. And then you start internalizing the script. The other thing that's extremely important is recording the script and listening to it and hearing it over and over again. You know, when I first started in sales, in real estate sales, and I needed to learn these scripts, what I would do is I would record myself and I would walking the dog, doing dishes, taking a shower, driving in the car. I'm constantly listening to the script over and over again. And then I found myself saying it along with the script. And then I found myself knowing what was coming next. And then next thing you know, I don't even need to hear it. It's just part of my vocabulary. It's just how I talk. And that's how it goes from sounding like a canned script to sounding just like a conversation and a dialogue you have with the seller. Because once you internalize it and you know what's coming next and what's in the script, you can just talk and it's actually guiding you through the conversation. And so it's important that you guys take the time and write the scripts down and read it out loud and role play it, because that's what helps you actually internalize it. And when you internalize it, the biggest benefit to that and the power behind that is that you can actually listen. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. I was on a listing appointment and I recorded the listing appointment for my coach. And I didn't get the listing. I walked away like, okay, they didn't list with me. I wonder why. And when my coach and I listened to the recording back, he said, did you hear what the seller just said right there? And I'm like, well, I heard it now, but in that conversation, I didn't hear them because I was so busy thinking, what did the script say? What should I be saying next? Like, how do I respond to this seller? I was so busy thinking about how to respond, I wasn't listening to them. And so we missed the cues, we missed those key words that they use that we can actually use to close them. We miss all that because we're so busy thinking about what to say because we haven't internalized the script. And so that's why it's important to memorize it and get to know it so that you can be in the conversation and actually take notes and find out information that can help you close the deal. That's the importance of it. Liz, go ahead.
I just had my first buyer presentation over the phone. I literally just hung up and I felt like I was trying to keep it calm and ask her the right questions. But I felt that sometimes dealing with clients, when they're so anxious and so like they either talk too fast or they're not listening or they're not kind of just, how do you kind of bring it down and have more control of the I mean, I'm assuming I did buyers right now, but I'm assuming later on eventually listing will probably go the same way. But how do you have control of the conversation? Like I try to keep it as calm as I could, but
Well, listen, it's a couple of things, and I don't want to make this super complicated. However, there are going to be times when you were talking to somebody. I mean, listen to how I talk right now. I don't talk really fast, right? But there are times I'm on the phone with people who are, a million miles a minute. So it's that importance of knowing how to mirror and match and kind of stay on pace with them and talk with them. It's hard to do when you really haven't mastered the scripts and what you should be talking about, because again, you're so caught up in, I want to make sure I'm saying the right thing, that you aren't really in the conversation like you should. If you knew that script like the back of your hand and you didn't have to read it, it's a little easier to get into that conversation with them and either slow it up or speed it up, whatever you have to do. It's because you don't know the script as well that it complicates the conversation a little bit. But here's the thing. When you were talking to that buyer, I'm guessing you're sitting down like you're sitting down right now, right?
mm-hmm.
First thing I'm going to recommend, if you can, stand up. It really helps. Like you're speaking from your diaphragm, you can control the energy a little bit more, you can move around. It helps when you're talking to someone, especially when you're new. it helps you control that nervous energy that happens when you're on the phone. So stand up and walk around a little bit when you're talking with them, but it really boils down, Liz, to knowing the script. If you know it, you're able to focus on the conversation a little more. And no matter how they're talking, if they're talking fast and a little erratic, it's okay. You're controlling it because you're asking the right questions, right? And you're not talking at them, you're talking with them because it turns into a conversation. Scripts aren't all about us talking. It's about us asking questions to get them to talk to us more so that we can listen and get the information that we need. That's the power in the script. And I know I didn't answer your question the way you probably wanted me to answer it, but that's exactly what you need to do in order to level up.
No, I got it. I basically also try to build more of a foundation with her and long term rather than kind of just focusing on the scripts. Even though I used to go right back to my script and kind of just asking her the right questions, but I was building that friendship.
I have something to say on that, but I want Kathy to go first.
Well, listening to this conversation, I think that, part of it is you have to think about, so we're asking questions. So ideally, when you're having a conversation with a potential client, if you hear their voice more because you've asked questions, you're in control of the conversation. You're just hearing them answer so that you're gathering more information from them. So them talking more doesn't mean it's a problem. It's just more about how you are leading that to get the answers to help them better.
Right. And so thank you for that, Kathy. You're absolutely right. And Liz, I want to touch on something, and then Deb, I'll let you go. You were saying you were spending a little bit more time just kind of building some rapport and getting to know them, right? I appreciate what you're doing with that. And yet you might be wasting your time. What if they are not serious? And building rapport is easy. It's like, okay, let me get to know these people, right? I used to do that when I went on listing appointments. It was the whole Ford method. They would tell you, focus on family, occupation, recreations, and dreams. And you talk to people and get to know them. And I got to know people real well, and they never hired me, or they were never serious about selling their home. So I would tell you that I'm not looking for a new friend. You shouldn't be looking for a friend, and they're really not looking for a friend. They're looking for a realtor to help them buy or a realtor to help them sell. You need to find out if it's a ready, willing, able, motivated, coachable buyer or seller. And the only way you're going to find that is if you actually go through your script and ask the right questions, because you might end up liking those people and you get off the phone like, that was great. I like them so much. That was awesome. And then nothing happens, right? No new friends.
Well, I just
you need to find out if they're a good buyer or not. That's what I would say.
I just got through and I got her connected to the lender. So she's highly motivated, I think.
Well, I'm going to say something about that word you just used, but Hazel, go ahead and pop in and say what you're going to say.
I was going to suggest, Liz, that you watch Ron's buyer's consultation and use that as your dialogue, because he asks a lot of questions. So therefore, he's the one controlling the conversation. And he's bringing them back to the goal, right? You, like David said, you're not making a friend, you're helping them purchase a home, because this market, you can't really waste too much time. So practice that. That's the same script I use, exact one.
That's great advice, Hazel. And Liz, I think I sent you that consultation, didn't I? Okay, great. So yeah, Hazel is absolutely correct. So one thing you said, and guys, I want you to pay attention to this. It's a scripting class. It's about the words we use. And Liz, I'm not picking on you, but I just want to make a point based on what you said. Liz said, I think they're highly motivated, right? I was talking to someone else today in Push, and they were like, they're selling, I assume they're selling for this reason. No, if you have to say, I think, and I assume, that's why scripts are important, because they're not allowing you to assume or think anything. You're uncovering that information because you're asking questions. You really need to know that they're motivated. You need to know what they're motivated for. Why are you buying a house? Why is that important to you? What would that do for you? How are you going to feel once you get it? Same questions if they're selling. Why is that important to you? What's it going to do for you when you sell it? How are you going to feel once it's actually sold? So sometimes we think we have a motivated hot buyer and we don't. And it speaks to one of the reasons we don't use the pre-qualification script. For those of you who are new, we should be pre-qualifying buyers and sellers to find out if we have a ready, willing, able buyer or seller. A lot of times we don't do that because it feels good to say, hey, I got this buyer I'm talking to. I have the seller who wants to meet with me. And we know that if we actually pre-qualify, we may find out that they really aren't serious and it's not the best and highest use of our time. And we sometimes don't want to know that. I want to tell you the power of the script is you need to know that, because you have limited time to really focus on finding serious people to work with. You don't want to waste your time with the people who aren't serious. So the script will allow you to uncover that motivation and understand, yeah, this is an A buyer. This is someone I really want to work with. This is a serious seller. It's worth me building some rapport and getting to know them because they are serious about selling, versus spending a lot of time with people who are just kicking tires and aren't interested. That's the power of harnessing scripts. It's not being super salesy and just beating people over the head with the message of work with me, list with me. It's determining if there's someone you even want to work with, if there's someone even worth pursuing and following up. And so by using the script early on, you'll be able to figure out, okay, this is someone who's serious. This is someone that I want to commit following up with for 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years even. You definitely want to use the script for that reason. Deb, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like for myself, when just even doing the calls the last few days, you know, especially hitting them back to back, I found myself like jumping and getting nervous. So what I'm going to do this weekend, maybe it's just the way that I'm learning, or hopefully will learn, writing each question, like going down the script and writing everything on each one on a flashcard.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's more of like, okay, just knowing what questions to ask. We get so caught up with trying to follow the script, and let's say they jump or they say something, and then we're trying to find the next one that makes sense as we're speaking to them without sounding that we're reading off of a script.
Mm-hmm.
It gets a little tricky. And then when you hang up and you realize, oh my God, I didn't ask this question, or I missed this question because we're too busy trying to follow the conversation, but jumping around over the script. So once we have it memorized, then it'll be easier for us to say, okay, you know what, maybe I'll skip 2, but I'll get back to 2 and jump into 3. And I don't know if that'll help anyone. I think that's going to work for me. Because even like now, even when I was doing push last time, it was, you know, when we were practicing, it was good. But here it is now that I'm literally speaking to strangers, my heart was going. I had to get up too. Like I did it. I put them on speaker, and so I could get up and, you know, I'm swinging my arms as I'm talking so I could relax. But I think, you know, I'm going to try that because you know, when I would hang up, I was missing the important questions.
You know, I think it's important that you do things like writing it out on, you know, index cards. And one game that you can play with yourself, you record it on your phone and you listen to it a few times, and then you turn the recording off and you get a piece of paper and you write down the first line of the script and read that a few times. And then you may need to listen to the recording again, and then you write down the first line again and the second line, and you keep building on it until you have the entire script written out. Right? When you play games with yourself like that, you're forcing yourself to really pay attention when you listen to it, and then as you're writing it down from memory, you retain it more. And so by the end of an hour, you should be able to write that entire script out without listening to it, just based on hearing it and writing line 1 and then line 2 and line 3 over and over again. It just builds on your memory muscle, and it's easier to remember the script. However, I got to tell you, we have to give ourselves some grace too, because listen, you guys will call someone in the morning and they'll call you back at the most inopportune time. You'll be like just getting to ShopRite to pick up something for dinner, and somebody calls you back and you're like, I don't have my scripts. I don't know what to say, right? So you completely lose it, maybe don't even answer the call because you don't feel prepared. And then you try to call them back, you can't reach them, and you've missed that opportunity. And so one thing I learned to do, and I've shared it with a lot of people, and I don't know how many people actually do this, you either need to take a picture of every script and then create an album in your phone, scripts. So if anybody calls you, you just go right to your photo library, scripts for sale by owner. Like they should be on your phone, or you should have all your scripts in Google Drive or have it in the Dropbox folder on your phone. So if you're out and about and you don't have your scripts, it's just a couple clicks of your phone and your scripts right in front of you. Don't let that be the reason you don't answer the phone because you don't have your scripts with you. They should always be with you. And so that way you're not missing any questions. You're not missing the opportunity to speak with them, because sometimes you never get a hold of them again. They called you, you had your one shot. And if you don't answer the phone because your scripts aren't in front of you, then you lose out. So make sure you put those in your phone. It's very powerful. And I can't tell you how many times that saved my butt, because you're not going to always remember the questions, especially in the heat of the moment when you have other things going on. But when you have the script handy right in your pocket, there's no reason to skip any questions, right? Hey, Holly, what's up? Holly.
Hey, David. You always talk about the scripts becoming conversational, or to make it conversational. I just wanted to know, how long after you had been writing it down every day and practicing it every day, did it become conversational to you?
So you want the honest answer, or you want the feel good answer, make you guys feel
Only the honest answers.
It didn't take long, because I promise you, I practice every freaking day. Like, I know that you guys practice, but it's like half an hour, right? 15 minutes a day. I was practicing half an hour in the morning. I had role play partners in the afternoon. I was listening to the scripts in my car. I was writing them down at home. I was role playing by myself when I took a shower. I was the seller. I was the agent. Like, it didn't take me long, because I saw that the difference between me making calls and actually having closings was learning the script. And I knew that I had to master it quickly. And you can, if you take it serious. We just aren't putting enough time into our practice. We almost check the box. Hey, I joined Raj today. I was on the call for a little bit. Hey, I made calls and did role play with my partner for 15 minutes. Hey, I checked that box. But are you really getting the material in here? We're not putting enough time. We're spending time on our 80%, and we should be spending time on our 20%. And what that means, guys, is that we need to be spending time on learning the scripts and making the calls and doing the activities that are going to generate income into our pockets. We spend too much time out previewing properties and sitting in classes and getting edutainment versus actually applying what we've learned and actually memorizing and internalizing the script. I mean, if I was starting out in real estate right now, based on what I know, I'd be practicing scripts a minimum an hour a day, like high level practicing scripts an hour a day. And does that sound like a lot to you guys? I don't know, but there are 168 hours in a week. Could you practice scripts 7 hours? Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. If you went and worked for a company in corporate America and they had a corporate training program, you would be practicing the scripts they wanted you to know 8 hours a day for a whole week. I've been there. I've done that before. And yet when this is your business, you don't even give it more than half an hour a day. It's not enough. So if you really apply yourself and say, I don't really need to sit on that class again. I've already taken that class. I need to learn this script, and you applied yourself and put an hour into it a day or even more. And then you did some high level role play, not the role play where you call someone and it's like, hey, how you doing? I'm good. So how was your weekend? Like, not that stuff, but the people who are going to say, hey, Holly, thanks for calling me, but no, I'm not interested in working with you right now. If you have a buyer, you can bring me a buyer. I'll pay you 3%. But other than that, I'm not interested in talking to agents. Like, that's the type of practice you need. And the problem is, I'm gonna shut up. Never mind.
Hey, David, may I add to that?
Yes.
So, talking about this, and it's something really that, I learned from my early days with you, David, and it's a few things to keep in mind with your script practice. So, first of all, as David's talking about, is get somebody who's going to challenge you. And you might even want 3 people on a call so that you have 2 people role playing and then a third person who is observing and can give honest feedback. But when I do script practice, and for example, Seth Diamond and I, most people on this call know Seth Diamond, he and I do script practice every Thursday. We call each other up. We don't go into, hi, how are you? We go into, hi, I'm calling, Mr. Smith. Want to talk about 123 Main Street. And then what we do is we each take our turns And then we give each other feedback in terms of what we thought was good and what we think we need to improve. I've hung up on Seth before. He's called me back. He's hung up on me. We've dissected listing presentations and only done subsets of the conversation. So we're leveraging our time, but we don't tell each other that what I'm calling to you today about is expired, or I'm calling you about FSBO. We surprise each other on it. So it's real, it's in the moment, and we're tough on each other. We respect each other and we're tough on each other, because you need somebody that's going to hold you accountable and be able to feel, and that you feel like you're not, her feelings aren't going to be hurt if they say to you, this was really great, but here's some things that I think you should think about and do a little bit differently.
Great point.
Makes a big difference. And also, David had me working actually at one point after taking Push. I'm still talking to Amrita, David, every Friday. She and I have time together. So that's like a top agent that, pushing me, challenging me. And yes, and Amrita and I do script practice besides talking about business scenarios. So just a couple of things for you guys to think about and maybe put a little fire in you in terms of the opportunity for practice.
And so, Kathy, you're bringing up role play partners. A couple important things to remember. 3 strikes for me. 3 strikes and you're out. If we have appointments set up to role play and you don't show up 3 times, or when we show up, you don't want to talk about scripts and you're talking about everything else except what we're supposed to be talking about, 3 strikes and I'm moving on to finding someone else. And I let my partner know that up front, like, this is my business. I actually need to master this. I need someone who's going to show up and meet me where I'm at. 3 strikes, and if not, I got to find someone else. And so what you find is you're constantly recruiting for people, because most people don't want to put the work in. So you might have to have 15 people in your pipeline for role play partners to find 5 people who are serious. You constantly need to be finding people who want to role play. And if they're not doing the job and they're not bringing it, let them go. Don't be nice and just stick with them because you don't want to shut it down. Just shut it down and find someone else. Also with the role playing, and Leslie, I'll come to you next. You always want to role play and give your partner a hard time, but the role play always needs to end with you giving them the opportunity. If they're calling to get a FSBO preview, give them pushback and make them work for it and make them overcome it, but always allow them to book the appointment. If you're practicing a listing presentation, give them a hard time on price, give them a hard time on commission, make them overcome it, always end and give them the appointment, give them the actual listing. The whole point of practicing is you want to simulate what it's like working with the seller. And so you want to have success in your practice so that you can have success with the actual sellers that you're meeting with. I'm not saying go easy, you can go hard on your partner, but at the end, let them book the appointment so they hang up saying, that was tough, but I got the listing. No one's going to be as tough as my role play partner when I'm actually making the calls. Leslie?
I never let anyone get the appointment. I was like a pretty tough role play partner. But also I want to say too, like, don't give the appointment right away. That's lame.
Make them work for it.
Like at least 4 to 5 times you got to keep closing, because otherwise you're not going to challenge yourself.
I still agree with you. Leslie, what's up?
What's up?
What's up?
I agree. Piggybacking off of what Kathy said, it's important to have multiple partners because you also get used to, if you're, script, like role playing and, doing script practice, it's obviously great that you're doing it, but to have different partners to give you different scenarios is really important. And I think that getting the feedback makes you realize that, when I first started doing script practice, someone gave me feedback. I'm like, oh my God, they're so like, okay, they're pointing that out. Okay, great. Yeah, I got that. But I appreciate it because there are things that I miss that I realize that I need to add in, or, things that are important. And you don't realize that unless someone else points it out. So.
Right. And keep in mind, Leslie, your role play partner is pointing out where you're making mistakes because they also have the script and they know where you're making a mistake. When you're talking to a seller, they don't know your script. And so sometimes we do stumble with a for sale by owner or an expired. They don't know we've stumbled. So just continue to go through the script. If you skip a question, you can always circle back and go to it, but they don't know your script. They don't know that you've stumbled. So just keep that in mind as well. So what other questions do we have around scripts before I start talking again?
David, I just want to also, this is a green book, which is I put together, I guess, 3 years ago, which is my scripts that I still keep, and I have them. I have a listing section, I have a buyer section, I have a FSBO section, I have a sphere of influence section, I have an expired section, and it's got the script and it's got objections in here that I keep, and they are lovingly put in plastic papers. So I can easily go into, does that make sense to you? But it's all done and it's very easy to get to. And when I need to reinforce my scripts, if I'm feeling a little dusty on what I need to say, I can go back here and it's really easy to go to.
Love that.
So that was like a go-to for me. That really helped me. And it's always nearby.
Okay.
David?
Hey,
David?
Raj, what's up? What's up, Expired King? How you doing, man?
Good. Just a quick thing. What I like to do when I role play, I stand up. Like my most successful listing come up when I'm standing up, my energy's high. Maybe I'll listen to some before. I do the same thing with role play. So that's my minor tip for the day.
Well, Raj, it's a good tip. It's extremely important. We should always be standing up when we're making our calls. We should always be smiling. So it's recommended that you get a little cheap mirror and put that up right where you're making your calls to make sure that you're smiling, because it comes across in your voice. So you're right.
Energy is so important. Like the listing I just got, which led to another listing, was all because that day I happened to just be, I listened to some great music. And I was standing up and I was walking around just having a great conversation. Now, knowing the script is so important. That way you can have a normal conversation and go back to the script and make sure you touch all the points. When you're past the point where you're so nervous, so like, what's the next question? Where you get to the point where it's embedded in your mind and you're like, okay, now I can have a regular conversation. And you can have it on your wall, just refer to it. But at least don't make it like a survey or an interview, make it like a conversation.
Make it like a conversation. And that's easy to do when you have internalized a script. And even though you've internalized a script, you still should have your script right in front of you, because there are times that you're going to talk to a seller and they say something that's a pattern interrupt and it throws you off your game. It's good to always have your scripts in front of you. Like Kathy just showed, you have a binder that's labeled and you can go right to the script and pick up and not lose any steam. Raj, man, if you have a second, with you being the Expired King, I love to just say to you as an agent, and I'm an Expired, you call me and say, hey, are you interested in selling your home? And I just say to you, like, man, I appreciate the phone call, but we are no longer selling our house. Thank you so much for the call. How do you handle that?
So I will say, okay, no, I totally understand that. I was just curious because I'm just looking at your home and it's beautiful. I'm just curious why it didn't sell. And usually that triggers something from them. And I'll be like, well, what was your plan? So are you planning to hire this? When are you planning?
I don't want to have this conversation. I told you I'm not interested in selling my home. And I appreciate the call, but I'm not selling.
Yeah, I know. You probably you're getting me the role play. Yeah, no, and I totally understand that. You're probably getting a lot of agents calling. Just curious, what was your plan when you sold this home? Where were you moving to next? And usually that gets them back. I mean, I've got 3 new leases because of that. I got 1 new appointment tomorrow because of that.
So you hear what Raj is doing. He's using the script, but even when I'm trying to shut him down, he is still just saying, yeah, I get that. You're probably getting calls from a lot of agents. Let me ask you, when you sell, where are you moving to? All he's doing is just going through the script, but you hear how it sounds conversational, like, hey, I get that, no big deal. When you sell, where are you moving to? That's what he means by making it conversational. All he's doing is going through the script, but he's having a conversation with me and creating dialogue. Go ahead, Raj.
And more importantly, I mean, I know it sounds silly, but I act, and it's not fake. It's mirror and matching them. So if they're speaking slower, I have this note saying mirror and match. I'm more like talking slowly. I'm not talking like I'm an appointment setter. I'm not talking like I'm somewhere else in the world. Like, I'm like, okay, I understand that. Like, really be sympathetic to them. They went through some shit, but they're like, they couldn't sell their home. They're supposed to be somewhere else. and they don't want some slick talking person. It's unless that works for you. It doesn't work for me. And I get the best feedback. I convert them from like, no, we're going to use our other realtors, to being like, well, I'll tell you the truth, we didn't want to use our past realtor again, but my husband wants to, but why don't you come over? Because I talk to them like, but I also have to cover those 10 or 11 questions and the pre-qualifying, which is so key, because even if you get that appointment, you still have to find out if the decision makers are going to be there.
I love that, Raj. I love that.
Yeah, so talk to them like, it shouldn't be an interview, it should be a conversation, and really understand that. Like, they're not meaning to yell at you, they just are frustrated. And when you can talk to them like that, you're going to set yourself apart from the 10 other calls you get. And that's where I get my most success.
So I love that Raj brought up mirror and matching. And so one thing with scripts and harnessing the power of scripts is understanding, like, when you call someone and they're upset, I get upset with them, right? I get on their side. I'm like, I can't figure out why the hell your house didn't sell. I mean, and I go into that type of conversation with them. Like, you're getting all these calls from us agents. You're probably wondering where the hell we were when your house was on the market, right? And so if they're a little upset, I get a little upset with them. I get bothered with them, and I'm on their side. And they're like, yeah, like, I got 50 calls today. No one showed my house when it was on the market. Like, that's not happening now because we're in the crazy market. If you have your house on the market and it's priced pretty reasonably, you're getting some showings. And yet there are still people who are so overpriced, nobody's coming out to see them, right? We still have properties that are expiring on the market today. So when that happens, getting on their side, like, I can't figure out why the hell this house didn't sell. I live in Ridgewood. I work this area. Can you tell me why you think it didn't sell? Then they start talking to you and opening up, right? You have to spend some time understanding the power of mirror matching. And if they're upset, kind of having that same type of energy they have, but coming from curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. Repeat and affirm, when go through the script, but then repeat what they're saying, affirm what they're saying. So they know you're getting it, and then mirror match.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
So tell me who has a question around a certain script or a certain objection that you guys have been battling with right now. Go ahead. You're still muted. All right.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
So, like for the FSBO, for sales by owners, when they're telling me, like, look, I'm not interested. I had this guy that just, whatever I was saying to me was shutting me down. So is there something that we can offer in the meantime, like hosting an open house, or, I don't know, providing some kind of material to help them with their FSBO, to provide some kind of service to, show them that we are still interested, or just helping them out regardless, and not so much of trying to get the listing.
So he's shutting you down on the phone.
Yeah, no matter what I was saying, and
Yeah.
I was still trying to engage a conversation, and he was trying to jump off the phone. Like, out of everyone that I spoke to today, he was the hardest one, but I was still trying to get him. And so then I threw him with so how about if I do have a buyer, is it okay if I bring them to you? Are you open to pay a buyer's commission? And then when he said, yeah, what, we can discuss. So then that's when I try to throw at him, well, like, me coming in with the buyer, then I'm kind of just working against you, not for you. So
let me pause you right there. You see what you just said right now?
Uh-huh.
What you're doing is not the right way to handle for sale by owner. You can't list a for sale by owner on the phone, right?
Okay.
What you should do is, when he says, yes, I'm open to paying a commission, then great. I need to set up an appointment to see your house. What time can I stop by? You go and set up the preview. When you try to list a for sale by owner on the phone, for the most part, they're going to shut down. They don't want to work with agents. And so everybody's calling and making it about getting a listing. And so they're numb to that. They shut you down because they don't want to list their property. Right now, they really believe they can sell it on their own. And maybe they can, but right now they're not interested in meeting with a listing agent about listing their house. So if you take that route on the phone, a lot of times they'll shut you down. So the minute they give you an opening and they're saying, yeah, I'll pay the commission, fantastic. All right, so the next step, I just need to schedule a preview and come by and see your house. Get in the door. When you're belly to belly with the seller, when you're in front of them, they allow you to go a little further in the conversation, because most people can hang up on you easily because they don't know you and they don't see you. But when you're in their house and you're talking with them, they're going to be a little bit more cordial and spend time answering your questions, especially if you handle it the right way. You should be asking your questions as you tour the property. When they're showing you all the rooms, you're going through your script. So when you sell the house, where are you moving to? Okay, well, why is that important? And so as they're showing the house, you're going through your script and getting all the information that you need to figure out if they're highly motivated, if there's someone you even want to work with. But if you're attempting to say, oh, you're going to pay me 3%. Well, if you're doing that, then you're just, a lot of times they just shut down because they're not ready for you. They don't see your value and they don't want to list their property. So sometimes that's not going to work for you. And it's better to set up the preview appointment and get in the house first and get a lay of the land and get to know them a little bit before you go there.
Yeah, that's why I called, because I know, like, that's how I was feeling. I felt like I stepped on my own toes. So that's why I hit you earlier.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? So just sometimes they will give you that information sometimes, but a lot of times I say about 75% of the time, they're going to shut you down if you attempt to list them on the phone. Yeah. Hey, Holly, what's up?
Hi, David. To answer your question, I just can't seem to get past the motivation. And then whenever they give me the objection, that's too private. I don't want to tell you where I was going to next. Why do you need to know that? And I will come back with, okay, I understand that that's private for you. So tell me, Susan, for example, what do you think stopped your home from selling? And then I'll click.
So here's my question for you. Do you feel like asking someone why they're selling their house and why that's important? Do you feel like that's a private thing that you shouldn't be asking? Do you feel some type of way about someone asking you those type of questions?
No.
No? Okay. So how do you do it? You call me, I answer the phone. Let's just kind of role play it out. And I say, ring, ring. I'm an expired, right? So, or a FSBO, whatever you want it to be. I answer the phone and say, ring, ring. You would say what?
Hi, may I speak with David, please?
This is him. How can I help you?
Hi, David. My name is Holly. I'm a local realtor. I'm calling because I saw that your home expired on the market. And I was looking to see, when do you plan on interviewing the right agent for the job of selling your home?
We're actually just going to relist with our previous agent this weekend, Holly. So I appreciate the phone call.
Okay, so you're going to relist with your previous agent.
Right.
David, if you had sold your home the first time with your previous agent, where were you going to next?
That's kind of private, Holly. I don't, why would you even need to know that information?
I understand that's private information for you, David, but I would like to help you get your home sold. And so can you tell me, David, what do you think stopped your home from selling the first time?
So can I stop you really quickly?
Yeah.
Don't run away from that question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think you could say to get me to answer that question instead of skipping it?
I don't know. That's why I always skip it.
Well, so Holly, you say that to me. Just tell me it's private. So I'm going to say, hey, Holly. So if you did sell your house, where were you moving to?
You know what, David? That's just really private information. I don't really want to tell you where I was going.
And I completely understand that. I mean, you don't know me, Holly. Let me tell you why I'm asking you that question. We have a lot of listings all over, and my job is to find buyers for our sellers. So when I talk to someone like you, and I know that you were looking to purchase a house, I like to know where you were looking to move, because I may have a listing that fits what you're looking for. We have a lot of inventory in the area. So where were you moving if you had sold the house?
Okay.
Would you answer me, or what would you say to that? Would you tell me at that point, or would you still say, nope, that's too private?
I guess I would go into kind of being a little more skeptical, but still telling you.
Okay. So you would tell me, okay, so let's say, tell me where you were moving to. Like, so Holly, if you had sold this house, where were you moving to?
I was going to go to Florida. You don't have any agents there, or listings there. So wherever you thought you had you said you had listings in New Jersey. right? I'm
Well,
going to Florida.
I love that you said that, because guess what? I actually belong to a brokerage called Keller Williams, and I have partnership with agents worldwide, and I actually have connections in Florida. So depending on where you're moving, I'd love to be able to assist you with finding opportunities in Florida. I actually can help you with that. But I guess my more important question would be, what's important to you about moving to Florida?
Well, I guess I want to move out of New Jersey. I'm just tired of the weather here, so I'm just relocating.
Okay, and so why did you choose Florida instead of any of the other states? What's important to you about Florida?
Warm weather.
Okay. And so what would that do for you if you got out of Jersey and got to some warm weather? What would that do for you?
Warm weather and beaches. I like to relax. I like to, get my work done in that type of environment. So I guess I'll feel more relaxed.
And listen, I think I feel more relaxed too if I was in Florida with some good weather. I need the sunshine, so I hear you on that. So Holly, let's say you get this home sold and you've moved to Florida, you got great weather, you're able to get your work done in an environment that you love. How do you feel being in Florida, being able to?
Is there any reason why you keep asking me all these questions? Can you get to the point already?
Holly, I hear you. And listen, the reason why I'm asking you all these questions is, for me, when I help someone sell their house, it's because I understand that I'm working with someone that's highly motivated and really serious about getting their property sold. I know some agents will come in here and just ask you where you're moving to, and you tell them it doesn't matter, and they just say, okay. But for me, it really does matter to understand what's important to you about getting this property sold. And the fact that you had it on the market for 6 months, I mean, you were pretty serious about getting this home sold, weren't you?
Of course I was, David. What kind of question is that? I had it on the market, right?
Yeah, I mean, 6 months of sweeping floors and making beds and washing dishes every day to make sure the house showed well. I mean, that's a lot of work, and it's got to be frustrating that your house didn't sell. I mean, all these other homes around you have sold. I'm sure you're curious why your house didn't sell, right?
Mm-hmm, sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned you were looking at relisting with your previous agent. I'm curious to know, how did you find that agent in the first place?
He's a friend of the family, and we've already promised him that we would give him another chance. So we're just gonna go with him. I've already made that promise.
Fair enough.
We're gonna give him another chance. It would be
That's
fair
great.
to give him another chance, right?
Well, listen, I guess my question for you would be, with this other chance, what is he going to do differently this time that he failed to do the first time when it was listed?
Well, he said he's gonna lower the price and make it more marketable.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it will be a better listing.
Okay. And 6 months go by and a house doesn't sell again. How's that going to work? How are you going to feel if this house hasn't sold 6 months from now?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be pissed off.
Yeah. I would be too. If you knew that there was a way to guarantee that your home would sell this time around, would you be open to hearing a little bit more about that if you knew there was a way to guarantee your home being sold?
How can you guarantee that to me?
Listen,
it's the same thing he just said, and it didn't sell. You can't guarantee that. Isn't that like a liability?
Not a liability for me. I actually get property sold, and there is actually a method and a system to getting homes sold. I think you would agree that you've given your agent, even though he's a friend of the family, and you promised him that you'll relist with him, you've given him a shot and he didn't sell. And if you listed it again, you already told me you'd be pissed if it didn't sell. So listen, Holly, I'll just break this down because I don't want to waste a lot of your time. If you had to go have surgery, right, and your doctor told you it's a big deal, it's a big surgery, and they sent you to a surgeon to interview them to see if they were right, would you interview just one surgeon, or would you interview a couple to make sure you chose the right one?
Of course, that's different. That's my health. So of course I would interview and I would get a second opinion on my surgery before I just go ahead and have it.
It's your health. And listen, this selling your home
like
isn't
a life and death situation. You can't compare the two.
Well, let me tell you how you can, because this isn't surgery. This isn't medical surgery. It's financial surgery, though, right? And it's making sure that you choose the right agent that puts your house back on the market and this time actually gets it sold. Are you aware of how much money you lost because it didn't sell over the past 6 months?
No, I didn't really think about it.
Are you
I'm
aware of
sure
how much
there's
money
like
you
some
would
holding
lose?
costs or whatever.
Well, there's more than holding costs now. Interest rates are going up. So are you aware of how much money you'll lose if it sits on the market for 6 more months and doesn't sell?
No, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, see, and that's why you need a second opinion, Holly. So here's what I'm going to do. You've already talked to your other agent. You feel committed to working with him. I'm going to stop by and just talk to you about what I do to get property sold and show you how I can guarantee your home gets sold this time around. I'm not here to force you into listing with me, Holly. I'm just going to give you enough information for you to make a good decision for you and your family. And if what I say makes sense, I'd love to work with you. And if it doesn't make sense, no harm, no foul. You're not obligated to work with me. You can just relist with your previous agent. So I have some availability on my calendar where I can come by tonight at 6, or I can do it tomorrow at 4 o'clock. What time will work better for you?
Let me just talk to my husband about that first and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I think it's important because he would need to be at the meeting as well. What time tends to work better for your husband? Is 6 p.m. or 4 p.m. a better time for him to meet?
6 p.m. He's usually available at that time, but I don't
At
know
that
if he's going to
time?
be available tomorrow. I need to get back to you on that.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm looking at my calendar right now. I have 6 p.m. on Friday available, and I also can do 6 p.m. on Saturday. So what I'm going to do is pencil you in on one of those days. Which one would be better? Should we do it for Friday or Saturday? Tentatively pencil you in until you talk to your husband.
I guess you can pencil us in on Friday because 6 p.m. Saturday, that's like date night or whatever.
Well, I don't want to interrupt date night. So Holly, I'm going to put you down for 6 p.m. on Friday. I'll make sure that you have my phone number. I want you to talk to your husband and make sure that that time works. And if that time doesn't work, you can call me back and we'll figure out another time to get together. What I want to do right now, though, is make sure I save that time in my calendar because my calendar's filling up pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and do that. And then I'll follow up with you next week. I'm not next week. I'll follow up with you tomorrow. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair?
Sure.
That's how I would keep pushing. Like I wouldn't give up.
And then tomorrow she called you back like, no.
So Holly, so you had a chance to talk to your husband and you guys have decided to just relist with your previous agent?
Yeah, we're just going to go with him. But my husband doesn't want to meet with anyone. It's a friend of his. So.
Yeah. And listen, Holly, that's an option. And yet, like I told you before, you've already given him an opportunity to sell your home and it didn't sell. I'm going to keep going. I don't want to stick on this one for too long. But here's the thing. You're calling me back and you're still talking to me. Until you hang up on me, Holly, I'm going to keep going and keep going and keep going until I convince you that you need to talk to me and there's no harm in actually talking to me and getting a second opinion.
Okay, just come over at 6 and I'll just tell my husband you'll be here.
Okay, Holly.
You just have to talk to him.
Listen, what I will tell you, Holly, I understand why he feels that way.
He's got to make the decision. It's his friend.
It's his friend, and I understand why he feels that way. I've had other clients that have felt the same way. They feel obligated to list with their friend. However, what they found is that when I come out and meet with them, there are different things that agents can do to sell property, and they're normally blown away with the systems that I have in place to get property sold and blown away with the track record I have with my clients. So I'll come by and I'll talk to him, and if he's not wild with what I present, I promise you in 10 minutes, I'll shake his hand and be out of your house. And yet I know that if you guys are really serious about getting down to Florida, he needs to meet with me and he'll be happy that you set this appointment up. So I'll see you at 6. Bye. Click. So that was all over the place and Holly was giving me a hard time, right? But listen, do you understand the power of using scripts? That's the whole point of doing this example and this role play, is just to show having something to say and not being stuck. Like I can say anything to Holly. I can figure out a way to navigate that conversation. I'm not going to get stuck, and you guys won't get stuck either if you spend time actually practicing the script and asking questions and pushing back. Elizabeth, go ahead. There you go.
Yeah, so I have a friend, she's thinking of moving to California and selling her house. And she told me last night that that she's going to give it to the same realtor that sold her the house, because the realtor has been consistent for 2 years waiting for her to sell the house.
Okay.
Do I push back or do I just let it go? Because I mean, she's moving because her husband just passed away recently and she's going to go live with her daughter. She doesn't want to be here by herself, or her, you know, everyone is there. And I don't know, it's kind of like a touchy, I don't know, sensitive kind of thing.
I mean, listen, we all want that type of loyalty. We want to be able to follow up with somebody for years. And then once they're ready to sell, they choose us. So we can understand that, because that's what we would want. But my question to her would be, I know you feel loyal to them because they've been following up all this time. And so you want to give them the listing. But when it comes down to it, what's more important to you? Just giving it to someone who's been following up, or hiring someone who has your best interest at heart and will make sure that you sell the property quickly and make the most money? What's more important to you?
Okay, that's good.
Most people would say, like, I need to net a certain amount of money, so what I sell it for is important. So then you would say, so if I could demonstrate and sit down and talk with you and show you that if you hire me or hired our company or hired our team, that I would make more money for you, would you give me an opportunity? And most people would say yes. And then it's up to you to either you have the experience where you can demonstrate that you can get them more money, or you partner up with someone who's, you know, well known and has a great track record, and you bring them in to make your case. However it goes, if they give you the opportunity, you got to show up guns blazing, and you have to be able to demonstrate that you can do what you said.
Okay.
But I wouldn't just let it go. I would dig for that and see if I can create an opportunity. I wouldn't let it go.
Yeah, like normally I have like that kind of I don't know, connection with her where I would just be like, no, you're listing with me and that's my listing, you're my friend, and that's it, like end of conversation. But in this case, because of her husband and all, like I just don't want to be too, I don't want to sound like I'm being what do you call it? Like I'm just thinking about myself and not her.
Well, I want to say something really quick. Holly, I don't know if Holly, did you hear our exchange we were just having about her friend?
Yes, I did. And I wanted to say, David, can I say something?
Yeah, well, and I want you to really, can you make it like in 1 minute because I want to give someone else a chance to speak, but can you share with her what just happened to you?
This just happened to me. I was being nice and trying to be considerate. All of that is just a smoke screen for walking in fear. In this business, you have to be bold and take what you want, because I did that with my friend and she went with another agent. You have to take what you want. Okay. Be bold and go for it. That's your friend. You put on your realtor hat, as Amina Blake told me, put on your realtor hat and you go in there and you ask for the appointment because you are a professional realtor. And just let her know that she should be interviewing more than one agent for the job. The lady was great at selling her the house, but you don't know if she is a good listing agent and has what it takes to list houses for sale in this market. Okay, yeah. So let her know you deserve the listing.
Holly, it was a similar story. Your friend's husband had just died, right? Similar story. That's why I had Holly speak with you. And then Holly, once you had a chance to actually call your friend and talk to them with your realtor hat on.
Already interviewed with an agent.
Right. Right. Were you able to get an opportunity though?
No, not really.
Well, listen, you missed that because you didn't have your realtor hat on. So
nice.
Elizabeth learned from Holly's pain and her mistake and not having her realtor hat on. Learn from that and go have that conversation right now, because if Holly had it earlier, she would have had the listing.
Yep, definitely. Thank you so much.
Yep.
David, what is the percentage of sellers who normally list with the first agent they interview?
Most sellers only interview one agent. 71% of sellers only interview one agent. So that's the stats from National Association of Realtors. So Ms. Richardson, can you tell me how to pronounce your first name correctly? I want to make sure I get it right.
Good night, David, and everyone else. Thank you for this platform. My name is Nadej.
Nadej. All right, Nadej, what's going on? How can I help you today?
Oh, wow. This is so interesting. You said something about guaranteeing that you can sell their home. How does that work?
Okay. It's really simple, and it may have sounded like I was making this big thing up about guarantee. I can go to anybody's house and I can guarantee I sell it in one day. Anybody know how? Come on.
Price it right.
That's
Price
it.
Right.
If you price it right, you will sell the house. If you price it aggressively, I could take my house right now and put it on the market tomorrow and it will be sold tomorrow. It's all about pricing the property correctly. That's what I mean by guarantee. If they're coachable and they're motivated and they listen to me, I can guarantee their house will be sold because the market tells me where I have to price it to sell it immediately.
So I have a listing right now, and I know the house is overpriced. However, the plan was that we would go down on the price. No.
Well, I'm shaking my head no, because I just talked about this in Push today. We just talked about this.
Well, I wanted to go in with, okay, say if he already knew he may want to sell a house, say for 600, but listed at 650. I wasn't going to argue with him and say no, but I did say to him, if you do list it at a higher price than you should, then within the next month, let's give it 30 days, then we should revisit and price it correctly.
Sounds good though, but then when you revisit, it's like, let's give it another week or let's drop it down to 645. If you're ever going to do that, and the reason why I was shaking my head, because I just talked about this today, if I ever took anything that was overpriced, I had them sign the price reduction form up front.
Yes, it is. It is.
You have a price reduction form already filled out from him?
Yes, that we will do that when in the 30 days come.
Okay, well, is he reducing it to a price that the market says it will sell for?
Definitely.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and that is why that even though I knew that it was underpriced, I knew that, with the give it 30 days, if someone comes in and accept the offer as is, because they choose to offer it, and it's a lot of cash investors coming in right now too, that it would be great for him. But if not, we have 30 days to go back and revisit to lower the price.
Okay, so
yes.
I'm thrown off for one reason, because you say revisit and it makes it sound like you don't have it in writing that it's going to come down in price.
No, not revisit. I guess I'm wording it wrong.
Okay, all right.
Yes, price change.
Price change, no matter what. Yes. 30 days, no offer, price change, automatic. Okay.
Correct.
But here's the thing. The power of harnessing scripts is that you learn to have a discussion about price up front. We are being outscripted by sellers, and we're letting them control the narrative and actually price the property based on what they want for it. No one cares what they want for it. The market tells us what we should list the home for, and we have to use scripts in order to have that conversation with the seller, because now 30 days later, guess what's happened in the last 30 days? Interest rates have gone up. They went up 1/8 of a point yesterday. And so in 30 days, we might be at 4.25. And so now when he lowers his price to where it should be, he may end up getting less because now interest rates are higher. He's hurting himself by starting off higher. So we have to learn the script and learn how to have the conversation with him up front on why it's important to price it based on what the market is telling us, not based on what he wants for the property, because nobody cares what he wants.
But even if by the time when he lowers it down, won't it also look like he's matching the rates going up? Like he's lowering the home. I mean, it can look like that to some buyers.
It can also look like he had an overpriced property and people are wondering what's wrong with the house. Why is it not selling? And then he starts lowering the price and people are thinking, okay, now he's kind of desperate. He's in a situation. We're not going to offer him what he thinks it's worth now. We're going to come in and kind of lowball and play some games. So I think no matter what, you hurt yourself when you start off high.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. So
thank you.
Hey.
David, if I can add just into
Yep.
that, I think, when you're looking at pricing, you always want, as part of your scripting, you're always tying it back to what's happening in the market, but what about their motivation? Because when you price high, the chances are that it's not going to sell as quickly as perhaps their motivation is of when they want to get out of there. And so you have to think about that. And it almost sounds like, Nadej, that perhaps it doesn't sound like you're close to your 30 days yet. Are you kind of midpoint with this seller right now?
Yes, I'm 3/4 in.
So, the thing is that every day counts. This is a fast market. And I heard something today, which I thought was really good. I was on a Keller Williams call with agents across the country. And we were talking about inventory is not a matter of supply. It's a matter of time on market. This is such a fast market. Things are going really quickly. So the question that you might want to entertain with your seller now is, I know we said we're going to talk about 30 days, but based on what's happening around us, if you were to look at the market information, you might say, maybe we should think about, let's revisit this conversation. Maybe the time is now.
Right.
So just think about that in terms of introducing that, because every day counts right now in this market. And it does tie back to interest rates. Like the day before, they were down to 3.9 and then they shot back up to 4.1. Every day counts.
Yes.
And every time there's a percentage, what happens is every time the interest rates increase a percentage, a buyer has 10% less buying power.
Right.
Right. So, they could also find themselves also getting a low ball price at that point versus pricing it well and factoring motivation. So some things for you to think about.
Correct. Yes. Thank you.
Yep. So class is over. 7:05. One thing the Radneys take serious around this household is dinner time. We like to sit around the table and talk about our favorite parts of the day. So I'm going to say peace out to you guys, but I hope that you guys join the morning mindset call and come hang out with us in the morning. Everyone on here should know about the morning mindset calls. It's a call that I host along with Ron Lagashi and Seth Diamond, and Hayes is on there and Tony's on there. We all get together and have a good time. So maybe you guys will join us tomorrow morning and take part, because I'm seeing some faces I don't normally see on the call. So I'd like to see you guys join the call tomorrow morning. One thing I will say, you really got to have some strong real play. Like, take what sellers are actually saying to you on the phone and use that to role play with your role play partners, or else it's just role play. You're not learning. It's got to be real situations that you're talking to people about, right? It helps you have conversations with actual sellers if you're practicing like you're talking to an actual seller. So how you participate in role play is how you're going to participate when you're talking to a real seller. So make it real. And that's going to help you learn. And I would say the best way to make it real is go talk to some actual sellers. Like, call some real FSBOs, call some real expireds, because they are going to give you true feedback and pushback that you can use and role play with your role play partners. So don't be afraid to call them. Don't feel like I'm not prepared. I don't know all the scripts. You'll learn the scripts because you're calling real people and you're learning how they communicate and what they say. And it just allows you to sharpen that saw even faster by actually calling live sellers. So I would encourage you guys to do that. Follow the do not call rules. Don't get yourself in trouble, but call people and make those contacts. So thank you. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
David, thank you very much. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Kathy, where can we get the recording?
Thank you.
Recorded, yes.
I use this as a benchmark.
Where can we get it?
I'll find out how to get it to you guys and let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
You can do it tomorrow, David.
I mean, I didn't work, I got the dumbbells a year ago, but I wanted to work out, but when I started getting
Somebody's at the gym. Okay. All right. See y'all later.